Hello, and welcome to this last in the introductory series of short videos about Gospel Oak Community Benefit Society. So far, we've covered an introduction to the concept about what a cooperative is and why they're so important and how that's relevant to you and the wider community. We've also looked at Gospel Oak Society as well as a cooperative, what it's set up to do, how that can be of interest to you in the role of a member, in terms of the option for you to take up that role and what it would mean for you, and also then the option for you to become a director of it as well, the implications, and again, the further opportunities that that could offer you. This last video is just pulling it all back together and just placing Gospel Oak Cooperative in the context of the global movement. Gospel Oak's doing all this great stuff in our community, but is it just flash in the pan stuff? How meaningful is it really in the bigger world that we live? Well, as we've touched upon in previous of the videos in this series, there are lots of other cooperatives in the United Kingdom alone, nearly 8,000 in fact, at the time that we're recording this video, which is at the start of 2022. We see cooperatives working in the accommodation and the housing sector, offering and securing housing of decent standard and quality for all sorts of people. We see cooperatives being formed to create jobs for people, known as worker cooperatives. There are credit unions that are cooperatives being formed to help people get access to financial services. And also in education, the cooperatives who are being formed to take over the running of schools up and down the country as well. And there's a sense as well that when we look at the movements that exist locally and around the world, co-ops tend to be a bit like a virus in some ways. That if you become part of one cooperative, you usually get the bug and you say, okay, well, what else can I get involved in? This is a really interesting model of being part of a community, of meeting my needs, of changing the world for the better. So what we've also tended to see is where there is one cooperative that is successful and established and doing good things, other cooperatives tend to spring up around it. So we start to see cooperative families emerging almost. And again, as we touched upon in one of the previous videos, this is a growing thing. Cooperatives UK produces an annual snapshot of what is called the cooperative economy every year. And every year, year on year, we see that as an economic force, the turnover, the annual trade of cooperatives is getting bigger and bigger every year. And the number of cooperatives is increasing every year, and the number of people they employ is increasing every year. So it's not all down to Gospel Oak to fix these issues. It can inspire other people to form cooperatives. And it's not just here in the UK either. There is an international body called the ICA, the International Cooperative Alliance. And it similarly produces regular benchmarking reports about cooperatives all around the world globally. And what it's found is that over 10% of all the jobs in the world are created by cooperative businesses. What it's found is that there's over $2,000 billion of turnover. These are huge businesses around the world creating long-term sustainable change. So it gives you a sense of being part of Gospel Oak Cooperative means you're actually part of a much bigger global movement, a force for good. That's been around for a long time and it's still getting bigger. But don't just take our word for it through these short videos. Look it up for yourself. Inquire. And there's a few starting points here. You can look up Cooperatives UK, the national body for cooperatives across the United Kingdom. They've got lots of case studies and stories and figures and insight and learning and sharing to be had from their website. As I mentioned, there's also the International Cooperative Alliance, so the global equivalent of Cooperatives UK. As a cooperative movement, we have our own news service as well. There's the Cooperative News you can look up, who track stories and things that are happening across the sectors throughout the world. And we also have an international college as well for our education and learning, the Cooperative College, who are always running programs and sharing stories and case studies about the ways that cooperatives are transforming lives and communities. So as we get to the end of this introductory video series about Gospel Oak Community Benefit Society, we hope that you found it of interest in places. We hope that it's challenged some of your understanding about what a cooperative is about. And it's prompted you to start to think a bit more about saying, how could you be involved in this cooperative as well? What can it mean for you in terms of how it can help you get ahead in this world further? And how can it help you make more of an impact and a difference to this community? There's more information around the website, and also just for the asking. Get in touch with the cooperative, come to the meetings and ask questions. In the meanwhile, thanks for your interest and working through these videos.